I've never understood men who have trouble with their ska. I find the creatures easy to control if you show a properly firm hand." The obligator nodded, standing quietly in his grey robes. He seemed pleased, which was a good thing. The ska weren't actually Tresting's property. Like all ska, they belonged to the Lord Ruler. Tresting only leased the workers from his god, much in the same way he paid for the services of his obligators. The obligator looked down, checking his pocket watch, then glanced up at the sun. Despite the ashfall, the sun was bright this day, shining a brilliant crimson red behind the smoky blackness of the upper sky. Tresting removed a handkerchief and wiped his brow, thankful for the parasol's shade against the midday heat. "Very well, Tresting," the obligator said. "I will carry your proposal to Lord Venture as requested. He will have a favorable report from me on your operations here." Tresting held in a sigh of relief. An obligator was required to witness any contract or business deal between noblemen. True, even a lowly obligator like the ones Tresting employed could serve as such a witness, but it meant so much more to impress Straff Venture's own obligator. The obligator turned toward him. "I will leave back down the canal this afternoon." "So soon?" Tresting asked. "Wouldn't you care to stay for supper?" "No," the obligator replied. "Though there is another matter I wish to discuss with you. I came not only at the behest of Lord Venture, but to look in on some matters for the canton of Inquisition. Rumors say that you like to dally with your ska women." Tresting felt a chill. The obligator smiled. He likely meant it to be disarming, but Tresting only found it eerie. "Don't worry yourself, Tresting," the obligator said. "If there had been any real worries about your actions, a Steel Inquisitor would have been sent here in my place." Tresting nodded slowly. Inquisitor. He'd never seen one of the inhuman creatures, but he had heard stories. "I have been satisfied regarding your actions with the ska women," the obligator said, looking back over the fields. "What I've seen and heard here indicate that you always clean up your messes. A man such as yourself, efficient, productive, could go far in Luthadel. A few more years of work, some inspired mercantile deals, and who knows?" The obligator turned away, and Tresting found himself smiling. It wasn't a promise or even an endorsement. For the most part, obligators were more bureaucrats and witnesses than they were priests. But to hear such praise from one of the Lord Ruler's own servants... Tresting knew that some nobility considered the obligators to be unsettling. Some men even considered them a bother. But at that moment, Tresting could have kissed his distinguished guest. Tresting turned back toward the ska, who worked quietly beneath the bloody sun and the lazy flakes of ash. Tresting had always been a country nobleman, living on his plantation, dreaming of perhaps moving into Luthadel itself. He had heard of the balls and the parties, the glamour and the intrigue, and it excited him to no end. "I'll have to celebrate tonight," he thought. There was that young girl in the 14th hovel that he'd been watching for some time. He smiled again. A few more years of work, the obligator had said. But could Tresting perhaps speed that up if he worked a little harder? His ska population had been growing lately. Perhaps if he pushed them a bit more, he could bring in an extra harvest this summer and fulfill his contract with Lord Venture in extra measure. Tresting nodded as he watched the crowd of lazy ska, some working with their hoes, others on hands and knees pushing the ash away from the fledgling crops. They didn't complain, they didn't hope, they barely dared think. That was the way it should be, for they were ska. They were... Tresting froze as one of the ska looked up. The man met Tresting's eyes, a spark, no, a fire of defiance.